Welcome once again to Let's Talk Marriage. This is Pastor Larry coming to you this Wednesday afternoon with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. We're going to get right on into our program today. Our program today is we're going to be going into a segment discussing before you walk down the aisle or before you get married. And there's several things there's a process you enter into before you walk down the aisle. And we want to discuss this. First of all, I hope everyone is doing well. If you woke up this morning, you are doing well. All right. One of the things that we were going to be talking about is dating. And that's one of the processes that happens or occurs before you get married. And during that process, that's how or when you get to know that person, as much information that you can know about that person. Because we have so many people that are entering in marriages that are not ready for one, or they don't know the person or they might have been ready for marriage, but they did not know the person that they married, and all sorts of things come up after a while. And they go through a lot of changes, and the next thing you know, the marriage is over, and it's occurring more often than we would like, especially in our Christian communities, because marriages should be for a lifetime. And one of the things that a lot of our young people, they don't know how to work through adversity in a marriage. They don't, because when you walk down the aisles, for better or for worse. So they don't know how to go through the worst part. You have to learn how to work things out. But before you do that, you have to know people before you say I do. And sometimes you get signs, or if you're gun ho and about that person, you're just head over heels about that person, you'll ignore the signs that you get when you meet that person. So you have to be very careful when you meet someone, how they are, watch how they are, get to know them before you say I do. And one of the, as we mentioned before, one of the main processes of getting to know someone is you date them. You go out with them. I know a lot of churches tell people that, oh, you shouldn't be dating. When you save, you won't be dating. Dating does not mean that you are sleeping or having sex with someone. That's not that. You have the wrong concept of dating. That's not the concept of dating. The concept of dating is to get to know someone, not to be sleeping with them. So, because you've already went there, so this is not what dating is. Dating is, especially in our Christian community, or if you're a Christian, you're dating someone to get to know them, because you have to know people before you walk down the aisle with them. Know everything about them, as much information as you can possibly know about that person. Get to know their parents. See how they interact with their parents. See how they interact with their nieces and nephews, or their younger siblings. See how they interact with them. See how they interact around children. See how they interact, if they're respectful around the elderly, or how they respect their mother and father. If there's a father in the home, see how the young man interact with their dad. If their dad seem to be a very decent dad, where he teaches him and he's constantly talking, when they have normal conversations, not arguments, then that's something to look forward to. And watch how you interact with this mother, because you have these guys that are mama's boys. You want to be careful with that, because if you're involved with or seeing someone that's a mama's boy, you're going to have issues, because they're going to be expecting you to be just like their mom. And if you don't cook like their mom, or or things like that, or wash their clothes all the time like their mom does, then you're going to have an issue with that. So you have to look out for these things like that. Years ago, when at least the church that I went to, they would set us down and teach us about things like that. They would teach the elders in the church would teach the young men about what to do when they were interested in the young lady, how to approach them, Christian like. You don't say vulgar things to them, and how to treat them. We didn't go around calling our women B's and H's, and we didn't do that. We respected them, and that's how we were taught. And the mothers in the church taught the young ladies how to go about and how to be a lady, how to dress, and that was taught in the home as well. So you didn't have people coming to church inappropriately dressed. I mean, if you just come into church, that's different. But if you already in the church, you should know what kind of dress attire to wear. But we were taught those things, and that's what's lacking today. A lot of churches don't want to take the opportunity to help teach people, because when you teach people, they tend to grasp it better than rather than trying to tell people what to do. Because you can tell people what to do all day long, and they won't listen. But if you teach them, and it's an art to teaching. That's why I take my hats off to all teachers, whether you're teaching in the spiritual realm or whether you're teaching in a educational realm. I take my hats off to you, because it takes a very special person to be a teacher. And, we have mothers in the church that are excellent teachers. And they, teach the young women, because back then they used to teach them if they didn't know how to cook. It's not that you're trying to raise a young lady to be a cook for some man. So we're not going to put it that way. But you teach them how to cook so they can survive on their own. Every person, before they enter into a marriage, should be able to survive on their own. Let me repeat that. If you're thinking about entering into a marriage, you should be able to survive on your own. You don't depend on another person to help or to do everything for you. Learn how to do things for yourself. Learn how to teach our young ladies how to change a tire, or if they don't know how to change a tire, tell them to get a motor club. It doesn't cost but a few dollars a month. Get a motor club if you don't want to learn how to change a tire. That way you can call for a car service, or roadside service. I'm trying to say, you can call for roadside service. You won't have to wait for anything. So we want to make sure that we are teaching our young people. And that's one of the things that we are lacking in the churches. For years, we went around and told people, oh, you shouldn't be dating. That's not the Christian thing. Well, it is the Christian thing. You have to get to know people. How are you going to get to know people if you don't see them? And let me go over this with you. Dating in today's context is a social practice, shared experiences, mutual understanding, and potential romantic prospects. It entails individuals spending time together to explore their compatibility and to build a foundation of companionship through various interactions. Couples assess their affinities and whether a deeper connection is possible. They find out if that person is right for you. And that's how you find your soulmate. When you meet someone, you go out with them, you can tell right away if that's going to be your soulmate. Especially if you're a spiritual person, you in church, you should know how to spot. And then that's what's taught in the churches too. The mothers would teach you what to look for in a gentleman. And the men, the fathers and the elders in the church would teach the men what to look for in a woman. The Bible perspective on dating, while dating is not explicitly mentioned in the Bible, the principles of the mutual respect, honesty, and purity are emphasized. Proverbs 4:23 encourages guarding one's heart. That's why you have to guard your heart. Sometimes we let our heart get into it. Sometimes you have to think with your mind, and you have to see the signs. And a lot of times we don't see the signs when especially if we going by what the person look for. We all are visual, you know. God is the one that looks on the inside, not the outside. But man looks on the outside. So one of the things that were taught back in the day, they would teach our young ladies to look like you. I mentioned it in the message I had Sunday. To dress like you're blessed. You know, don't walk around looking depressed and you wonder why nobody is, you know, talking to you. Wonder why you can't get your husband or find your soulmate. Your soulmate has to find you, and in order for a soulmate to find you, you have to stand out by the way you carry yourself. That's one of the things that the mothers would teach our young ladies. They taught them how to carry themselves. And man, the young people that your young ladies that you see nowadays, it's just ridiculous. It's just crazy. You know, you have the nobody wants to be a kid. You know, everybody wants to grow up fast. But then when you grow up, then you don't want the responsibilities of an adult. You see a lot of the young girls looking like they're 14, they're 14, 15, but they look like they're 30, and because they're the way they're carrying themselves. But back in the day, they would, you know, the mothers would set the young girls down and they would teach them to be a kid first. Let our kids be kids. And when they get to the age where they want to, where they're interested in the opposite sex, make sure that they understand, or make sure that we teach them what to do, the ins and outs on seeing somebody, knowing to spot. Just because somebody look good don't mean that they are a good person, and just because someone doesn't look all that good does not mean that they are not the one for you, because you can't always go by the outward appearance like man always does. You have to look at the person's inner part. You have to look at their heart. Look how they interact with their family, their children. You know, if they get to know their parents, you know, have them bring you around their parents, especially if they're interested in you. Bring them around their parents and see how they interact with them. If he's a mama's boy, you're going to have an issue. Because if he's a mama's boy, he's going to expect you to be just cook like her. And, you know, you might not even know how to cook, you know. But that's one of the things that were taught years ago. They would teach our young ladies, not that you're going to be a cook for someone, but they would teach you how to do those things. And when we are trained properly, that's the same thing as being a Christian. No church is perfect, no marriage is perfect. But the thing is, we strive for perfection. And when you strive for perfection, you might stumble, you might fall. But the thing is, because you're striving for perfection, you're going to get back up and you're going to continue on your journey toward perfection. And that's the same thing in a church. Yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect church. So if you're looking for one, you're not going to find one. If you're looking for a perfect mate, you're not going to find one. There's always going to be some flaws, but we strive for perfection. And that's one of the things that we have to look forward to in our, and it's a fun journey. You have to put your all in it, and it's a fun journey. The Bible mentions in Proverbs 4:23 about guarding our hearts. You have to guard your heart, you know, reminding us to be mindful of the relationships we form and to honor God in our interactions. And when you're doing that, if you're trained properly, you do not have to worry about people dating and going to the next level before it's time to go to the next level. You go to the next level after you say I do. And when you say, before you say I do, we going to make sure that you understand what you're getting into. And a lot of times what's going on nowadays is when we say I do, we don't go to the part when you get to the part where it says for better or for worse. For the better part, we fine, you know, as long as things are going fine. Our young people nowadays, they can't handle things the way people did back in the day. People back in the day, they didn't have a choice, so they made things work. That's why you see mom, dad, or grandparents being married for uh, 30, 40, 50 years. It's not because everything was easy. It's not because everything was hard. It's because they learned how to stick it out. They learned how to work together. And they'll tell you in a minute that they did not have it wasn't perfect. It wasn't always roses, but they made it work, and there were more good times than bad times. And that's how you have to look at it. And when you're dating someone, make sure you look for those things in a person. Don't be so quick to be caught up by the way they look. That get over that. That's might be the initial attraction. You saw them and you're attracted to them because of the way they look. But get past that part. Just put that in the back of your head and start looking at that inner person. And when you look at the inner person, you'll see so many things that wouldn't have been seen if you had just been looking on the outside. People can get involved with the wrong person because you never got the chance to know each other. Get the chance to know each other, and that's where we have to teach our young people, what to do when they're interested in someone, what to do when you're going on a date. Don't, first of all, when you're first going out on dates, don't go just you one-on-one. It's not that serious to be going on one-on-one. You just met this person. Go on a double date. You could even find a young married couple around the same age you guys are, and go out with them so you can interact with them, and they'll see how it is being married. And trust me, if they gonna clown, they're gonna clown right in front of you. So you'll see what it's like to what it's like to be being married and being a married couple. And if they have children, sometimes they might get phone calls in between while you're there. You understand that that's what you do, and you understand that they would have to get a babysitter, and that's things that you look forward to. And that's why when you're dating, those are the things that you discuss especially when you're serious about each other and you're thinking about going to the next level, meaning getting married, and you're contemplating on getting married. Those things, that the questions should be asked. Do you want to have kids? How many kids you want to have? And who's going to keep the kids while you're working? Because trust me, child care is expensive, very expensive. So those are the things you have to think about. And don't just assume, because a lot of young people assume that grandmama and granddad gonna watch the kids. Don't assume that. Go for child care. That you're gonna have to pay for child care. Just look at it that way, and consider all those options that are involved in that when you're dating somebody. These questions should be asked, and a lot of times when we meet someone, if they got a decent job, we think that's the right person. You might meet somebody to have a decent job, but they might be a person that like to spend, and don't have much. Because just because you have a decent job don't mean you have a lot. You could spend a lot as well. So you have to see what type of person that is. If you both are spenders, you shouldn't be together, honestly, because you're never going to get anywhere. Somebody have to balance it out. And when you balance it out, you have to have one that's a saver, or at least one that handles the finances. You both can handle the finances together. You both should know what's in the finances, because then that way you can have one setting up the budget and things of that nature. So all those things have to be discussed before you walk down the aisle and doing the dating process. It's simply to get to know that person. And that's the thing that is lacking in the churches. We don't teach our young people about what things to look for. No church or parent is perfect, but we strive again for that perfection. Teach, train, prepare our young people, because nowadays, A lot of young people, and we're not, again, parents are not perfect. Sometimes we don't think of things that we should have thought about it. We think about it later. So, oh, I should have did it this way. But there's no reason to beat yourself up over the head. That's in the past. You just going forward, you try to do what's right, and you make sure you teach your kids so they won't make the same mistakes. Again, because we're not all, no one is perfect. So we have to make sure that we are training our young people on what to do, what to look for when they're interested, because they're going to get to that age. Just set a standard in your household. Say you can start seeing someone when you get this age, and you stick to that. Just stick to it. And when they get to that age, before they get to that age, or when they first come to you and mention it to you, that's when you start training, or you should train them way before that, to know what to look for, to know if you involved with the predator or someone like that. You'll know those things, what to not to do, because there's so many things that distract our young ladies. There's so many things on the internet, and so many things in social media, and there's so many people that prey on our young women. So you have to be careful. Not because people tell you in a minute, oh, I should have to dress a certain way. Should be able to be allowed to dress the way I want, but that's all fine and dandy. But if you gonna dress a certain way, make sure you're never by yourself. Okay, let's just put it that way. Make sure you're always with a friend, things like that. And that's why I say when you go out with these people, before you get to know them, do not go by yourself with them. Go, do a double date thing. Go out with another couple, make it a double date. And then when you get to know them, and things get serious, and they want to have a serious relationship, still keeping yourself. You can have a serious relationship and still keep yourself. Don't let people tell you, oh, you should be the with that man. Don't listen to your friends, because most of the time the ones that be talking like that don't have a woman, they ain't had a woman, and don't know what to do when they get one. So don't listen to people like that. Listen to what you were taught. Fall back on what your parents had taught you, and those things, and what you learned in church. Those things should be taught in our churches. We tend to shy away from that just by saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be dating." I mean, why not? Explain to people. And when you train people what to do, they do better than when you tell them what to do. You can tell people what to do all day long, but if you're telling them what to do, they're not going to listen. But if you teach them, they will listen. And that's why the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he get old, it will not depart. Because those things will come back to you if you're trained properly. That's why we have to make sure that we are training our young people and teaching them. Because there's too many times that our young ladies end up pregnant before they, no husband, and then you fall into the category where, what do you do next? Do you go to school? Do you go to work? Who's going to keep the kid? Where you go to school? And then, because some parents won't help their young ladies. And when your parents, when your young ladies make these mistakes, do not abandon them. Make sure you stay with them and help them so they won't continue. Because guess what? If you abandon them, leave them alone out in this world, the mistakes will continue. But if you nurture them, and as a parent should, they will make the same mistake twice. They'll learn from their mistakes. So we're going to continue this series on dating within the church, and we're going to be going a little more into it. And if you have any comments on how you met your spouse, where you met your spouse, just put it down, and how you when you first went out to dinner with them, how it was, and did they take you to church? Make sure you take these people to church. If they don't go to church, take them to church. And if they're interested in you, they'll continue to go to church with you. This is Pastor Larry. We're going to be signing off until we meet again with Let's talk marriage. All right. I'm going to take this opportunity to invite you out to our services at New Zion Christian Center. And we're located at 150 14 South Des Plaines Street in Plainfield, Illinois. That's 150 14 South Des Plaines Street in Plainfield, Illinois. Our services begin Sunday at 11 a.m. New Zion Christian Center, where Pastor Larry is the pastor. Until we meet again on Let's Talk Marriage.